The opinions expressed in the following program are not necessarily those of Eastlink Community TV, its sponsors, or partners.
All right, welcome to another episode of the Unlikely Innovators, the show where we tell stories about the winding journeys of people as they go towards innovation. And today we have an innovator with us. We have Peter Dal Bianco, entrepreneur in residence at NORCAT, community builder, and also member of the Axion Venture Capital Group. So Peter, so awesome to have you here today.
Well, I am honored. I am absolutely honored, guys. Thank you for inviting me, and I must admit, I was kind of worried about, I said, what should I be talking about? But and then as my wife told me, here's, you've got only 5 minutes, so you got to get everything done in 5 minutes. So I'm very, very proud to be here, and thank you.
Yeah, we'll try and steward you into the right place, and of course, yeah, the pleasure is ours. We were talking off air just about your commercials,
yes,
and I think a lot of Sudburians will remember from the mid-90s, the Bianco's commercials. But I don't think a lot of those same people that listen to those commercials know about the sort of storied entrepreneurial career you've had so far. So maybe tell the audience a little bit about your entrepreneurial journey. How do you get into that, and then beyond what you've done with Bianco's?
Well, where do you want me to start here? Very quickly, I guess the entrepreneurial journey started 50 years ago, as a matter of fact. It was actually 50 years ago. I was working in Ottawa. We originally came from Italy to Sudbury, but then when I went away to school at another college in Northern Ontario, Institute of Technology, one of the best there is, and I love what all of the college systems is doing in Ontario. You guys are doing a tremendous job at Cambridge, and anyway, I graduated from there, and then by 1975, I figured I need to start my own business somehow. Moved back to Sudbury. And we built our first store on the sidewalk. It was a franchise store back then. I didn't know anything about business, marketing, so I was a surveyor. and thank God to good mentorship, building a good team. Bianco's, after 2 years of being a franchise operation, Bianco's took over the name switch. And from there we quickly grew, because at that time, if you may remember, maybe it was before your time, something called a VHS and beta machine.
Yeah.
We quickly became quite good at doing our own commercials. We started, thanks to a wonderful man by the name of Bob Goujon, kind of led the way. He was the founder of McDonald's here in Sudbury. He was always on radio and television, and so I did the same thing myself, and he coached me, and off we went. And by 1985 and 1986, a lot of people in Sudbury probably don't know, Bianco's really is about 25% of what I really do, and where I really got my teeth cut on venture capital and VCs and angel investment was in the mid-'80s, and bought a sizable portion of a company called National Video. It was out of Portland, Oregon, and we decided to literally become full-fledged a franchise right across the country, and a lot of my experience comes from that. And when I sort of really started refocusing back in Sudbury in 1986, 1987, we built Fort 44 Berrydown, and that's where the jingle comes from.
All right.
And we needed something, as I was explaining to you, I was fascinated by the Radio Shack ad at that time, and we went after the same creators, and up came Experience the Difference at Bianco's. And from there we took it into 1400 the Kingsway, and 2014 we split the company, and now I'm an EIR at NORCAT. I did that all in 5 minutes.
That's pretty good. That's pretty good.
That's a tiny bit of business.
Yeah. And I was singing the jingle off air, and I will not subject the audience to the jingle here.
Oh, I think they'd want it.
Yeah, I don't know.
Maybe in the blooper
That's an
reel.
itch they don't need to scratch, I'm sure. Yeah.
But Peter, obviously you're still so passionate about entrepreneurship and supporting the community. And as you mentioned, you've been doing this for 50 years. I guess what drives you to still want to support and be a part of it these days?
Well, if I can go back a little bit, all my life was about surviving. When we started the entrepreneurial journey, the first decade was all about surviving, growing and surviving. And that's where you really get an awful lot of hard experience, sleepless nights, taking risks, and you either learn to persevere or be resilient or you fail. So the first 10, 12 years was all about surviving. Then from there, from 87 to 2007, 20 years of growing and succeeding against all the competition. You know, every single competition in retail and video retailing in North America came to take us on. And whether it's, you know, Blockbuster or Jumbo Video and Rogers Video and Movie Gallery on the video side, and then of course we had the Brick and all wonderful competitors, Sears, and then came Future Shop and Best Buy and Costco and Amazon. So it's all about succeeding against all the competition. And I don't know if you knew this, and probably you do, back in, I guess, the early 90s, they started doing Sudbury's favorite video and store, and we've consistently won those awards all the way through that. And so the passion comes from now that I've survived and now that I've succeeded, and trying to be significant somehow. And how do I give back to a community that has supported Biancos and myself for 50 years? And that's how I landed up with meeting Don Duval in 2014, and he had this vision about building a innovation center, a regional innovation center, and was looking for somebody who had connections to the network of people in town, and we just literally hit it off. I always thought boy, he would have made a fantastic son-in-law.
Yeah.
But and that's where the passion comes from. We want to somehow leave a little bit of a mark and pass on all the heartaches and tough times and the knowledge I've gained and by the mistakes. And thank goodness I made more good decisions than mistakes. And here we are with that passion, and still, as long as my health keeps up, I want to keep giving back.
Yeah.
I think that mentorship piece is so important, especially to young or new entrepreneurs, right? Especially, you mentioned earlier that you had that support or that mentorship early on, transitioning out of your schooling, right? And I think mentorship is just such a big piece of it.
It is. Mike, you're absolutely dead right. There was nobody in the 80s and 90s and the 70s to really turn to. There was no formal structure. There was no, entity, whether it's federal, provincial, or municipal here in Sudbury at the time. I mean, unless you're into mining, right? Now that's a totally different category. But in terms of all the entrepreneurial skills you have to develop, finance, marketing, sales, promotion, being a good manager, how difficult that is. So yes, very, very thankful for passing on this mentorship and coaching, and very, very proud of some of the successes we've had in the last 10 years, some of which have gone on to be right across the country, international, and it's all due to the team that we have at NORCAT, led by Don and myself on the EIR side of it, and more is coming every year. I just, this year we have our pitch, our Venture North pitch on October the 2nd. I think we had 12 applicants for it. Great companies. I think about 50% of them were from outside our region. So we're getting this brand now right across the country where we make things happen.
Yeah.
We make things happen in this town, our community, the way we do things. And very proud of being part of that drive to be able to do it.
I think we're going to pick up more on, sort of some of the proclivities of Sudbury. But first, we're going to go to a break, and then we'll come right back with Peter. All right, we're back with Peter Dal Bianco on the Unlikely Innovators. Peter, in preparation for this, Mike and I went back in the Wayback Machine, so to speak, and looked at a video of when you won Entrepreneur of the Year in 2007 for the Northern Ontario Business.
Oh, thank you.
And honestly, more power to you. You look very similar, and that was quite a while ago. So you're in really good shape. So good for you.
Thank you.
One thing I wanted to bring up though is, did you know Tom Logren before that? Because he butchered your last name in that intro. And I wanted.
Not know.
You didn't know him? Okay, because it was.
You were very gracious.
You
as
were
a
very
fellow,
gracious.
As a fellow Paisan who's had his name, I think he called you De Bianco.
Yeah.
And you went up there and you still, I think thanked him and did a great speech. But
Yeah.
Well, there's some real humor behind that, because the names that I've been called over, Mr.
Yeah.
Da Bianco, Mr. Da Bianco,
Yeah.
hey, Mr. Dal.
Yeah, Mr. Dal. Yeah. Yeah. So I bring that up because in that intro, though, what Tom did do was he talked about you going toe to toe with Goliaths, and I think maybe from a technological perspective, how does a small company, sort of more regionally based, either use technology or at such a high rate of technological change? How do you keep that in view as you try to compete with those big firms?
That's a good question. Probably the best answer to that would be, I think right from the get-go, you have to bring some sort of culture, philosophy, and passion into things. And two of my passions from being young was music and technology, because I cut my teeth on fascination about technology, because what I want to survey, and we're talking about the initiation of GPS, the initiation of computers, we were filling in cards and putting in the click, 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 and this whirring and size of this building here, for crying out loud, and what it's more powerful than my phone. So I've always been fascinated with technology. So you have to go into any kind of endeavor with some sort of passion, and you have to go into a game plan somehow, and you have to learn how to be a good manager. And one thing I'm pretty proud of is, thanks to all of the mentors and people and exposure to the US and a lot of the business dealings there. I mean, I traveled from Alaska to Florida to Newfoundland, and I had the ability to see a lot of things that were happening. So I was really proud of saying we always looked at 5 years ahead of time, 5 years ahead of time. And with technology, you have to say, how do I best use technology to bring the real culture of Bianco's, and how does it compete? And when you compete in any retail operation, any retailer, anybody that's listening, you have to differentiate yourself with something. And I still believe that retail has a huge, huge future, because the more that you have the competitions from the Amazons and from the online shopping and all the rest of it, people still look for answers. They want to have answers. And yes, they can get it from ChatGPT and all, but there's nothing that replaces the human contact. You're looking at somebody in the face, they're asking you a question, you have to know your technology, you have to know what the answers are, and we spent an inordinate amount of time at Bianco's training. We would bring trainers up from Panasonic and Sony and from all of these different companies that we were dealing with. And one of the things about dealing with Bianco is you had to train our people specifically, so they had to be the experts. So when a customer came into any of our stores, they were treated like family. That goes back to when we first came to Sudbury. My mom, we used to go into stores, used to bring me because I was the only one speaking English. And I said, folks, right from the get-go, guys, I tell you, first two salespeople that we had, I said, if my mother walks through that door, somebody's really got to help her, and let's treat all our customers like that. And that is embedded into our philosophy at Bianco's. That's why it's still a brand today. And our ability to compete is to be just one step ahead of time with the better model, with the better ideas, with the better suggestions, with the better training, and most of all, service. Service. Not only must you give the answers, must you be passionate about having that knowledge, but you got to follow it up with great service. And even after Mike and I, Mike Rowlandson, who is now the 100% owner, and his son, they were bred on that, and that's why Mike and I made a great team for one of the best human beings there is for 30 years. And now he's taking the brand to bigger heights from that wonderful store on the Kingsway. Again, same culture. Treat your people properly, and you can compete. I used to love Amazon. When they first came out, I used to go and take here, right, print out. If you see our live commercials, well, you can get it at Amazon for this price, but here at Bianco's, it's this. So we built that type of deliver on what your promises are. And by the way, we're here if you have a problem with it. During COVID, people were calling up all our salespeople. They would pick up the phone, they would return calls. And that's just the structure of how the brand has been able to survive. And then you ask about the video business, and again, knowing the technology, what was coming 5 to 10 years. As a matter of fact, when we were still with National Video, we were talking to Reed Hastings himself and some of the things he was doing at that time. He said, "You're going to ship video cassettes across the country? Are you kidding?" And that's when it started. And but we saw it as things were going. I said, the day that they start putting billions of dollars into fiber optic, and that would have been in the mid 2000s, late 2000s. I said, we only have a timeline.
Yeah.
We only have a timeline. I said, we can't fight.
Yeah.
And in hindsight, we could have done something else and pivoted into something else, using the brand Bianco's in our stores with some of our managers. We had some of the best managers and best people working for us. We could have pivoted in to do something else. But I saw the video business, there was just no way around that technological advance.
Well, that's one of the things we wanted to ask you, because I think, you know, part of that experience that I think our generation had, and you always hear about generations talking about what we did in my day, and that generation says, I'll never, you know, talk about that. But I think for people of our vintage, going to Bianco's and renting movies was a part of that Friday, Saturday night ritual, right? That was the whole part of the experience. And now, you know, with Netflix, like, I feel like they're missing out on that experience. Like my daughters, you know, movies are at their fingertips. They don't know what it's like to go to the video store. Have you ever reflected on, you know, that experience is gone now? And, you know, obviously the technology is great, but there's just that piece that I feel like whole generations are going to miss.
Yeah, that's a great assessment, and a real sign of our times, I can go on and on about the dangers of social media and social networking, and that it's robbing our young people of the ability to be together, to be social, to have parties, to go to a place to pick out things together, to enjoy themselves, stay out of trouble, you know. And there is so much that's changed in the world. Like I said, I could get quite depressed if I spend a lot of time thinking about what they're missing on, what we're not teaching them. And I have two wonderful I have three grandkids. One's 21, but the other two that live here in Sudbury are 14 and 13. And through all the years of them being young, we would spend time, okay, what are we going to watch together? What do you pick? You know, I had a whole bunch of DVDs still in there, you know, Disney and things like that. And that social aspect, Mike, which is unfortunately gone, I am very sad about that. And I think it's really up to all parents and grandparents to sort of try to bring some social back to watching the movie with them, trying to select movies with them. So the process that was in the video store, if it could only be created at home and do more of that too, I think we'll try to capture some of that excitement. But it's not like having, and invite their friends, you know, they should invite their friends. But that's just technology, you know, you have to learn how to bear with it. But it's sad, but it's sad.
It is sad, and hopefully there's another outlet that could form and take its place, but I haven't seen that yet. We're going to take one more quick break, and then we're going to come back and finish off with Peter. Okay, we're back with Peter Dal Bianco, and this has been a really fun chat so far. So I want you to sort of zoom out a little bit onto the region of Northern Ontario, because I think with all you've seen of the companies coming and going, people don't typically, if you're from outside the region, think of Northern Ontario as a source for innovation and entrepreneurship. But what can you do to sort of dispel that myth? Because we see so often how passionate you are about the companies you advise. What's the sort of secret sauce and difference in Northern Ontario that makes good companies?
Well, I think I referred to a little bit before when I said we have a huge network and in Northern Ontario that I think really defines the successes, the mining successes, the transportation successes, the contracting successes, is that we kind of like to work together and try to help each other because we're up here in remote areas. And what I really found specifically for our end of it, for our NORCAT innovation side of it, I kind of split NORCAT into two kind of well, we have 4 or 5 actually separate departments within NORCAT. You know, there's the safety and mining, then there's the Fortin lab, and there's the innovation quarters, which is us. But over the last 6 to 7 years, it really becomes separating. Like, we're overflowing at NORCAT now. We need to expand even further. And what has happened over the last 6 to 7 years specifically, with no budget, the word of mouth is getting out. The word of mouth is getting out, and we are now getting referrals from all kinds of people within our network of the Archangel network of funds, because we've kind of set up the Axiom North initiative here in 2020. You know, we have 18 very powerful limited partners from right here from Sudbury actually, that are part of the Axiom North initiative in that fund. And you know, with the Sudbury Catalyst Fund, that was really put together by Don Duval and us creating the application for a trial run to see how it would work, because after meeting with a lot of angels about our clients, that took a lot of time, and we needed some sort of next step, and where the Sudbury Catalyst Fund comes in and basically mirrors what we do in doing their due diligence, and if we raise 250, they're there up to 250. So all of a sudden we had a pool of funds that started, oh, you know what, in Sudbury they get things done. They get it done in a short period of time. And what I mean by a short period of time, from an introduction just this year, in late January to the end of July, there's a new company coming to town. She's moving her lab from New Brunswick here to HSNRI called Myomar Molecular. And Rafaela and Ryan are moving their lab here this week and next week, and they just can't get over what we were able to do within 6 months. Where this would never happen, no offense Toronto, but this would never happen in Toronto in 6 months. And I think the whole ability for Northerners to come together, to communicate, to participate, to want to help giving back is what's created this immense opportunity. The next 20 years in Sudbury and the North are going to be absolutely mind-boggling.
That's exciting.
Yeah, no, I mean, the strength of the ecosystem, and I think even like NOA, I think like pound for pound, like the what they're able to contribute to the company, I think rivals any angel network in North America.
Well, again, you know, I'm glad you brought that up, because I was going to kind of throw in a little real kudos to Ian Lane. When we first started, Don and I, there was no NOA chapter in Sudbury. Nobody really knew about angel investing or anything like that. And so I became the first rep for NOA, and their head office was Thunder Bay. And by 2020, we're at the point where I had passed that mantra on to some other people here, very capable individuals in Sudbury. And we found Ian Lane, and he applied for executive director, and now he is doing an unbelievable job throughout the North, just an unbelievable, with very, very few resources, but he's doing a tremendous job. So very proud of, we call them our partners, NORCAT Innovation and NOA, just because of that's where it really started going. And we do, you know, Venture North together. We started doing a lot of things together. So very proud of what he's done. Punching way above his weight.
Also good hockey player, that Ian Lane. And rushes.
Oh, is that right? Eh? Oh, wow.
We call him Billy G, Billy Guerin. But Peter, we're almost at time with you today. But we wanted to ask you one last question before we go. With everything you've accomplished and with all the companies you've worked with and what they've accomplished over the years, how do you define success in your life?
Well, I think the only way I can put that in a very simple way is if you have a plan. If you say, I'm going to judge, this is my vision of success, and if I can reach that goal, once you reach that goal, what's your next goal, right? What's your next vision? What is your next vision? And I try to do in 5-year lifespans because of technology changing so much. Today, it's completely different. Technology is changing almost every 6 months. And especially with the new thing of chat GPTs and large language models, you really get on the have to get on the ball of putting these plans and executing. So my real simple answer is, if you can start achieving your definition of success, what plateaus are, and you just keep on going. You keep on, because it's the journey. It's really the journey. You know, you asked before, we started off the conversation about my journey on entrepreneurship. It's a journey. So if you still are passionate and love what you're doing and contributing and giving back and being significant, then it just becomes the next success and the next. So as long as my health is up, I'm looking forward to the next plateau.
Yeah.
Well, I think you could definitely say that there's no slowing down, Peter Dal Bianco. And we really appreciate you sharing some of your thoughts here with us today. Definitely, as it turns out, not an unlikely innovator, but an innovator nonetheless. And we really thank you for joining us. Thanks for coming on.
My pleasure.
Yeah,
Thank you
thanks,
very
Peter.
much, guys. My pleasure, and thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.